It's times like these that make me wish I could just run away and never look back. I want to scream, but I can only cry internally from all the stress my family causes me. My father and stepmother always go at each other like a couple of lions fighting over a piece of meat. There is no peace sometimes. I wish I could just crawl into a hole and never come out again. I desperately pray to God that every day will get a little better, but it never does. Nothing gets better. The only thing I look forward to anymore is sleep. The constant oppression and neglect from my stepmother only increases every passing day. Sometimes I can't even help but lie in bed and wonder if my family or friends would ever miss me if I went away. Would people cry or just move on? The only love I remember feeling from was my father, but lately things have taken a turn for the worse. The fights have gotten more violent, and there were days I could find him crying, praying for a miracle to happen. As it grew dark out, I realized I'd been sitting in my room listening to them for several hours. I couldn't hear them arguing anymore. The damned grating noise of the clock above me only contributed to my frustration. That eerie silence heightened my anxiety until I couldn't take it anymore. I go to the door, and before I could get to the doorknob, it swung open. It was my dad, beaten, broken, and bruised. I gazed up at his tired face as I slowly walked towards him, and there I decided enough was enough and lost all rational thought as I grabbed his hand. I gathered my strength and pushed my way past my stepmother. The rage plastered on her face made me panic as I tugged my father into his car. I got him into the passenger side and scooted over to the driver's side. I frantically locked the doors as I looked for my father's car keys. I could hear my stepmother growl words as she cursed out my name. "Alexa!" she yelled out in a hoarse voice. My only thought was to get my father away from here as fast as I could. I panicked as I struggled to find the keys in the little light I had. A sudden loud bang on the driver's side window sent me into a state of shock as my eyes snapped back to it. I screamed in terror as my mother slammed the baseball bat against the window again. This time it must have been finally snapped my father out of his haze. He suddenly grabbed me and shoved me out of my seat, and he grabbed his keys from the glove compartment and started the car before speeding off, leaving a trail of smoke and skidded marks behind us. My panic of my I only heightened as we flew down the road. I pleaded with him to slow down, but he only sped up more. I could feel the car start to spin out of control. The sudden thrashing shook both of us violently before I heard glass shattering. The seatbelt had kept me secured, broke, and suddenly the world went black. I feel so isolated. The cold hard ground beneath me sent me goosebumps along my skin as my eyes snapped open. I was gripped with sudden strong pain as I sat up. My head was pounding from the hard landing. I tried to steady myself and realized that all I could hear was the hollow sound of the car alarm. There wasn't any other noise. Even the cool breeze that touched my skin was silent. I slowly brought myself to my feet as I looked around. Something was wrong. "Dad?" I called out, but there was no answer. I hollered out again. Still no answer. I tried to scream over and over again in my dismay, only to hear the silence to such an extent that my throat began to hurt. I had to stop before I not only lost my father, but my voice as well. I was worn out and I couldn't stop rubbing my eyes. The more I did, the more light around me started to fade into darkness. I felt uneasy as I opened my eyes. I was suddenly blinded by a single spotlight, and everything around seemed to fade away. I could hear a faint jiggling sound, now an echo around me that was followed by laughter. I could feel my anxiety welling up again as I called out, hoping it was my father. "Hello? Dad?" I waited several minutes for a reply, but none came. It only seemed to confirm my worst fear. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end as an overwhelming presence seemed to appear behind me. I turned around quickly, and there were in the colors of blue, magenta, and teal stood towering over Jester. The jester carried a mischievous, lazy demeanor. He looked bored and quickly took notice that I was standing there. He didn't say a word, and the only sound was the faint jingling of the bell tied to the ends of his blue hair. I couldn't break my gaze away from him. His flamboyantly vibrant features brought out so much life and made him stand out that much more. The jester came closer to me with a grin that I wasn't so sure if I could trust. I didn't understand where he came from or how I came into this dark oblivion. Without a word, he started to do tricks that would awe everyone, one of which made a purple balloon with a smiley face mystically appear in his hand. He looked at me with a smile as he offered it to me. I didn't take it from him. I didn't know where he came from, much less what he was. I drew back slightly as my thoughts returned to my father. I had to find him. I didn't have time for this. I turned quickly to move away, but here he was in front of me again. He looked disappointed and shook his head as he offered me the purple balloon again. I couldn't stand the eerie silence that lingered between us. "Who are you?" I asked, after gathering my courage. The jester didn't say anything, but pulled out a deck of cards. I asked him again, and this time he pulled out a card with a letter on it, and it started to dance around him, and with every following question he would pull out another card. I glared at the cards and spelled out the name he presented to me. "Candy Pop?" I asked. The only response he gave me was a wide grin. I don't know why, but each time he smirked, it sent chills down my spine. I could feel something was wrong, even if I didn't know what it was. He started doing tricks again, and this time he made the purple balloon disappear. I watched as he made a blue lollipop appear, and then another and another, until he held 3 of them. I wasn't sure what to say or do, so I only watched in silence. He shook my hand and placed the lollipops in the palm and closed his hand around mine. Once again, he made the same purple balloon reappear and backed away slightly. He crouched down with his back to me, and all I could hear was the sound of plastic being stretched quite a bit. When he turned around again and he held a flower-shaped balloon, Candy Pop's smile was sweet and kind as he offered me a balloon again. I wasn't sure why he was so persistent for me to take a balloon. Maybe he really just wants to try to befriend me? After a moment, I finally decided to accept the balloon. I examined it before gazing up at Candy Pop. His expression had changed from a sweet, kind one to something sinister. I backed away and hugged the balloon to my chest tightly. I started to panic as my body began to levitate off the ground higher and higher. I couldn't stop myself from floating further into the light above. "What is this?" I whimpered as I realized I couldn't take my hands off the balloon. It felt like it had attached itself to my skin. The light above me grew brighter and brighter, and all I could see was Candy Pop waving goodbye to me. I could see his shadow, and it sent a cold chill over me. The shadow, though, showed devilish-looking horns and a tail. When I tried to look at his face again, it was disoriented. Multiple whispers surrounded me as I felt my head spinning. I closed my eyes tightly, wishing that whatever was happening would stop. "Alexa! Alexa! Wake up! Alexa!" I could hear my father faintly calling out for me. I felt so cold as if I had been dead. I was frightened and embraced myself so hard that I popped the balloon without realizing it. I opened my eyes slowly in the bright light that had been overhead, following focus into a street light. My father was kneeling next to me to check over me to see if I was alive. Almost immediately, I started to cry and tried to hug him. Before I knew it, we were at the hospital. The doctor said it was a miracle we both survived it. As much as it hurt deep down, I was glad that we were both far from my stepmother. 3 months had passed since the incident, but I can't seem to shake off the feeling that something is wrong. I am happy that we got away from my stepmother and could start over again. The rain outside of the hospital window has really made this feel like a beginning of something new. I have to hide my surprise, though, as the doctor enters without knocking. He was probably back to check on my progress. I smiled to myself as I watched the doctor's back. He He once faces me through my smile quickly falls. He was holding something in his hand. He quietly spoke to me. You popped the last balloon I gave you. But do not worry, Alexa. I got you a new one.
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Ms. Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.